Welcome to another Panchakarma Live. We're going through Panchakarma here as a community at Broad Coven. It is a free seva to all for those who are ready to really do the deep transformational healing work to clear the road and move forward in an empowered way into transforming the fate you've been working through and weighing out karmically into your destiny, the activation of your purpose. And I wanted to bring in this topic today because when we did our first drop in for Panchakarma, there was a lot that came up around trauma and a lot that the collective was expressing about just having challenges moving on from the pain, having challenges moving on from the resentments, the anger, and how do you really release? How do you let go so you can move forward free and clear and not feel weighed down by the burdens of the past to really activate your purpose so you can be the change you want to see in the world? And it's such a deep, rich topic, especially in terms of Panchakarma. Hello, Sylvia. Welcome. Thank you for being here. It's an important discussion to have, and Ayurveda is a powerful ally. The science of life is a powerful ally in learning how to move through trauma, how to clear trauma, not only from our path in the form of karmic clearing, of course, and releasing the karmic burden, but also releasing that burden from our cellular memory, from our bodies, from our mental focus, from our emotional space, from our energy body. Okay, so we're really looking at all stratums of being when we are looking at Ayurveda. Ayurveda is alchemy, and it works with the cycles of manifestation, and it works with elemental theory. So in Ayurveda, we must understand that any trauma that's being held in the body is first something that was already activated through the entire cycle of manifestation. So first we look at Vata, which is the mother of all doshas. And Vata leads all the other doshas into action. Vata is associated with the elements of ether and air. So first, ether, akasha, spirit, okay, is activated. So we can look at this in terms of our life lessons, our karma, what we're here to learn, our work that we're here to do, so we can integrate spiritually and evolve. You know, when we incarnate on this earth, it gets drawn down first from the ether, okay, from those akashic records. It comes on down and it merges with the air element, which activates what? The thought. And first there was the word, and the word was God. Okay, so that's what that means. It's the activation of the consciousness, the conscious awareness as oneself as a creator through the thoughts we hold. That's why thoughts are things and they carry the weight of responsibility. Moving on down, it then merges into the next dosha, which is pitta, which is fire and water. But when we're looking at pitta, we're looking at more bilious, acidic water, like the digestive juices, which pitta rules over. And so that's the next cycle of manifestation, right? We can look at it as fire taking action. You have the inspiration, you have the thought. The thought moves from that into taking action. All right, that's the activation point. That's what we're doing right now in our current Panchakarma with Kapha. We are trying to really like stoke the internal fire, the agni, to activate the cleansing processes, the purification processes of that which has been undigested, or what is known as ama in Ayurveda. Physically, it presents as mucus within the body, but if you look at the quality or the guna of mucus, then you can come to understand the quality of holding on to that which is undigested mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Okay, if you know what mucus feels like physically in your body, which we all do, especially now as we're coming out of winter, we're in spring, the pollens are all activated. Okay, hi, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad you're here, Broad. It's good to see you, Wilder. I love that you're showing up here for this. Me and my Broad Wilder, we go quite a ways back on the path of Ayurveda, and Wilder's been a great support in my work bringing Ayurveda online. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And in fact, Wilder was one of the first to partake of the courses I offered, and it's because of their commitment to follow through like that and offering to pay for the course when I was first starting out making my transition, that they made it possible for me to make it free for everybody. So thank you. I'm so happy that you're here. So once we get it to that place of, understanding that, oh, okay, what's physical, right? What I see in my material reality, what I feel happening in my body, it's also something that's already it's already coded into, my personal Akashic records. It's already encoded in my mental landscape. It's already encoded in those neural loops I travel through. It's already encoded in my emotional state or these traumas that I hold. And when you understand what that feels like, those undigested things, and you view it as mucus, then you can understand the effect it has on your path. And then it starts to make a lot of sense why, oh, that's why I feel so sluggish. That's why it's hard for me to feel enthusiastic. That's why I feel weighed down by the sorrows and the griefs of the past. That's why I feel so burdened. That's why I don't feel free. That's why I feel like I have nothing but blockages, because can we breathe freely? Can we inspire? That's what it means to breathe. If you look at the archaic definition of to breathe, it means to inspire. If you're full of mucus, can you inspire? So this is how Ayurveda works, right? So once we get the fire activated, right, then we move into, we don't just want fire with panchakarma, we want liquid fire, all right? So we want to get the digestion going, yes, but then we flow into kapha, which is the manifestation point, which is what we're moving right through now, in spring season. And that's when we get the merging of water with earth, because nothing can happen on earth without that water. That water is so essential. There's no life without water, right? And water will find a way. Water always finds a way. The Grand Canyon is proof of that water finds a way. And not only that, but water finds a way in terms of water understands the power of being receptive, of being adaptable, of not being fixed, of being able to flow. And there's great power and there's great strength in that. But a lot of people, when we look at water in terms of what it represents emotionally, there's a lot of people who feel it's not safe to be in the emotions, that it's not safe to open the heart or Anahata, the heart chakra center, and allow ourselves to really not only give love, but receive love. In fact, a lot of people find it much easier to give love than receive love. But that kind of love given is actually a certain distortion of love, because the true nature and the spirit of love is just endless flowing. It's reciprocal flow. It's an ebb and flow. We see it. All you have to do to understand that is just to look at nature. We see that with ocean. The ocean is the source, right? And many rivers flow into that one source. So though there appears to be outwardly a separation of, existence, we like to categorize things. We like to label things. This is how we feel safe. The reality is everything we see in existence is also part of us. Okay, so we're looking at what can we do to clear the things that are presenting that ama on our path, or what we are calling trauma for the sake of this particular drop-in. How can we transform that? How can we get it out of the consciousness, or if not clear it from the consciousness, at least be at total peace and acceptance of it in our consciousness, where we become like water. There's no longer this resistance. We can flow with it, right? We don't have to fight it. We can allow ourselves to feel empowered in our ability to receive it. So I just wanted to bring in a little sweetness, that many rivers leading to the same source. It reminds me of the Tridevi, the river goddesses of the Hindu tradition. It also reminds me of Oshun with her sweet waters. You know, all rivers from all over the world. You know, all forms of belief. Everybody, we're all just many rivers flowing into the same source. And I just wanted to invoke this spirit of the sweetness. This is some honey incense, and it smells so lovely. I wish you could smell it, but I just wanted to bring a little of this sweetness in as we open up to talk about how we can work with Ayurveda to clear trauma from the body. And I think I really want to begin first with that first quality that's associated with the Vata dosha, since that's the cycle of manifestation. And I thought what we would start with first is just dropping into this space together, right? I want this to be an interactive experience for you when you drop in with this. Okay, it's okay too if you just want to witness and watch the live the first time around. And then if you choose to drop in deeper, you know, maybe you're on the road and you're listening in. So, you know, later you can always drop in more deeply with it and actually put it into practice. And it's okay if you catch it on the replay too. Whenever you find your way here, welcome. I'm grateful that you are allowing me to hold this space for you, and that you're trusting me to hold this space for you, and that you're giving me the opportunity to share the wisdom of Ayurveda with you, because it's a beautiful, beautiful life practice, really. Hello, Gunda. It's good to see you. So let's just take a moment, okay? So let's work with that first element of the ether and air. And just wherever you're at, just take a moment right now. We're going to get in touch with just the simplest essence, the very start of life, with it, which is that very first breath. That's when we really come into our awareness in this physical reality, right? When we take our very first breath. So let's just close our eyes for a moment, and I'll go through it with you. I'll join you in this space, okay? And I want you to just, whatever was going on before you came here today, whatever experience you were having, whatever you were struggling with, let's just imagine it, shall we? Let's bring in a little bit of that inspiration. Let's bring in a little bit of that ether quality, and let's just imagine it like a slip just falling away from us onto the floor, just all of those thought forms, all of those feelings, all of those experiences, the energy signature of whatever was going on before we got here. Let's just let it fall away and just drop to the floor. And notice as you're sitting, you know, how are you sitting? How is your body feeling sitting in this posture? Are you comfortable? I don't know. Maybe you're laying in bed listening. You know, how does it feel to be laying there? Just get sort of a scan of your body going from the top of your head at the crown there, Sahasrara, and just scan down through the third eye, Ajna, down through the throat, Vishuddha, the heart, Anahata, the solar plexus, Manipura, your navel, your womb space, Svadhisthana, down to your root, Manipura, and envision right at the tip of your tailbone, roots now extending down and growing downward toward the core of the earth. And just allow this visualization to come through for you any way that feels natural to you. You can envision traveling through all the different layers of soil, all the different qualities of soil, crystal bed layers, the watery, unctuous layers of the earth, the oily, rich layers of the earth. And just descend those roots all the way down, 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 even into the place of the earth where it's just complete darkness and silence and warmth from the heat rising from the earth's core. And when you feel ready, just plunge your roots into the earth's core and really anchor them in. Let your roots really grab a hold of that earth's core and allow that molten fire energy of the earth's core to come all the way up. And again, scan your body with it, just like you scanned coming down, right? I want you to scan going up from that root, Muladhara, up into your navel center, your womb space, Svadhisthana, up into your solar plexus, Manipura, up into the heart center, Anahata, the throat, Vishuddha, the third eye, Ajna, and the crown, Sahasrara. And just drink up this earth energy and let it flow through all of the cells of your body. And just sit here for a moment, just breathing naturally, okay? Not trying to breathe any sort of way. I want to bring in just an opening mantra while you're sitting here breathing, visualizing, drinking in that energy from the core of the earth. It's a tantric mantra, and it was coming in very strongly for doing this work, because what we're really looking to do when we are healing trauma is we are trying to mend the feeling of separation within ourselves, division within ourselves, so we can come back into that place of total love within ourselves, which is all about that unification of the Shiva and the Shakti energy. Okay, so that inner union, right? And I'm going to go ahead and just bring this in right now, just to hold the space. Just continue breathing naturally. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And now I want you to envision coming from above, lunar essence. See it as pearlescent white light pouring down, flowing like water, scanning your body much as you did before, entering in through the crown, Sahasrara, washing down through the third eye, Ajna, down through the throat, Vishuddha. Allow it to really pour into that heart center, Anahata. Envision it just overflowing in your heart center and washing down your whole body, washing down into the earth, down into the core of the earth, to make all beautiful things come to bloom and grow. Washing through that heart center like your heart is the Ace of Cups, overflowing, inexhaustible. And then down through, pouring into the solar plexus, Manipura, down further into the womb space, the navel center, Svadhisthana, and then down into the root, Manipura, and again, just all the way down into the earth, to remember that as we nurture the earth nurtures us in return. Now we're just going to do one simple pranayama, and this pranayama is something you can do anywhere at any time. And it only takes but a few seconds, and yet it can help you greatly whenever you feel like you are activated or like you are encountering some kind of trauma or something that makes you feel unsafe, right? So this is pranayama, conscious breathing, and is a powerful transformational element to work with, that element of air. Your prana comes through your air. It's what gives you life in this vessel that you're blessed to experience the world through. It's such a gift, but we often forget it. And we often forget what a gift the breath is, right? We take our breath for granted. We just take it for granted because it's so automatic, but it's such a precious resource. And it's also a way to invite in so much healing for us. Okay. So just take a moment to just really feel the preciousness of that, just the gift of the breath. And only nostril breathing. Okay. So just let your mouth be gently relaxed. And you're going to take a nice deep inhalation through the nose. And follow your breath with your consciousness all the way down, just like you did before, okay? Moving through those chakra centers all the way down to your root. And allow the air to fill that lower belly. Just allow it to rise. And then exhale completely. Again, following the breath with your consciousness all the way out. And again, you're going to take another inhalation. You're going to breathe all the way in, following it down with your consciousness, all the way down to the root, allowing the lower belly to rise. Now carry it up to Manipura, the solar plexus, and allow those ribs to just gently expand out to the side. And again, follow it all the way back out with an exhalation. And one more time, breathe all the way in through the nose, follow it with your consciousness all the way down. Breathing down into the root, allow that lower belly to rise, carrying it up to Manipura, allowing it to spread out those ribs to the sides, carrying it up to Anahata, the heart, and just feel your chest just gently softening, opening as your collarbones spread open, and all the way out. Exhale. And then just wiggle your fingers a little bit. Okay. Wiggle your toes a little bit. And if you've had your eyes closed, flutter your eyes open and come into this space. Just look around the room a little bit. Just reacquaint yourself with your outer surroundings. And I want you to just take a moment and just notice, how does it feel to be in your body now? And if you feel compelled to share your experience, I welcome you to bring in your comments, and we can bring it in as a group and share as a group. We're going to drop in real deep on this one today because it's an important one and it deserves the proper space being held around it, okay? And I am going to bring in some Reiki right now for those who wish to receive it. And it's okay if you don't wish to receive it, just simply say no, thank you. But if you are open to the support of it, say yes. And I'm going to call this in for the collective. I'm going to use this selenite wand to call it in selenite. I want to bring in some helpful things that you can work with too, just to have at your disposal, to bring into your day-to-day self-care practices that also can really help in the area of trauma. Selenite is a wonderful mineral to work with. It has a very clearing energy that's also silky. There's a soft quality to selenite, but you can even take selenite and just run it down your hara line, your chakra center, and it will instantly clear energy from you. It's amazing. It works on such a subtle level, but it's so powerful. So whenever you're feeling energetically off, it's very helpful. It's also aligned with angelic energy. So it brings in just a real feeling of comfort, of being held, of protection, while also clearing the channels. So if you're somebody who struggles, especially at night, if you're somebody who has PTSD, if you find that you have a period of time you're going through where maybe you're having a lot of repressed memories coming up in the dream space. Usually, when somebody is starting to go through a deep healing process, this is the first place that it will emerge. It will emerge in the dream space, and it can be troubling. Sometimes this comes in initially as more lucid dreams, becoming more conscious in your dreams. It can be fragments of memories, things that seem disjointed and yet can make you feel a little bit unsettled inside, even though you're not quite sure why it feels unsettling. And it's so important to have safety held around that process. Some people struggle even with night terrors when they have repressed memories come up. I have dealt with night terrors since I was a really little girl, since I was a toddler, actually. So I know all about that. I know about moving through that kind of stuff. And selenite is really wonderful to put under your pillow when you sleep at night. It just provides that like kind of clear space. If you, especially if you're somebody that you feel like you're very clairsentient, you're able to really pick up the energy in the atmosphere around you. If you're a sensitive soul, and usually just by nature of how it affects the nervous system, if you've been dealing with a lot of trauma, you're going to be more sensitive. Things will be more close to the bone for you. So if you tend to pick up energy like that, this is wonderful, wonderful to put under the pillow to sleep at night. It'll just kind of like ward your dream space, all right? And it can be very, very helpful in that regard. So I'm going to go ahead and call in some Reiki for all of you that do wish to receive it. And we're going to direct this energy with a little time travel power here, okay? So the energy can also travel back to the past to provide healing and also to the future while anchoring you in an empowering way in the present moment. Yeah, try putting the selenite under your pillow. It can help, and make sure you're shielding, like just like we did. You can do that. It can really help. You can even put an outer layer, you can almost let that water, coming down, that luminescent lunar water kind of like surround you, almost so it's like becomes like you're in the center of a pearl, okay? And that can provide like a real silky energy. It's a good way to shield at night while still allowing you to enter your dream space, right? And then feel empowered in that space. It's tough. It's tough when it's coming in like that for sure. Bring in some emotional support too, just to soften the emotions, to make it feel safe to explore vulnerable feelings. Okay. And then we're going to ward it and protect it all for all of you. Okay. So let's just talk about this first. And Scylla and I already came in. What are some other stones that can be helpful? And they are helpful. They really are, especially if you put your own intentions into the stone and what you're looking for it to hold for you, you know? So you can focus on feelings of clarity and feelings of peace and feelings of alignment. Hello, Empress Jenna. Empress Jenna is one of our members here. We have a really wonderful members section building here at Broadcom. I'm so glad you were able to slide in before lunch and left you. Oh, I'll see you later. I'll see you later. Um, so yes, let's talk about a few other ones, you know, but if you really put your intention into the stones, you know, they can hold your essence for you. They can act like a place card. I think that's a good way of thinking about it, you know. It's hard to stay focused all the time, right? On these intentions, especially when you're dealing with outside forces in this thing called life and other people's energies and just experiences you're moving through. So if you think of it as like kind of like charging up your crystals with your intentions, with whatever's in harmony with the metaphysical properties of the stone, then it can act as like a placeholder for you for that intention that you can like kind of carry on your person. And it does really have a beneficial effect. So some that can be particularly helpful in regard to working with you know, time periods when you're really processing a lot of trauma and you're doing the deep work, okay? You're doing that deep integration work. Selenite is excellent for clearing the channel. Rose quartz is really wonderful as well. Rose quartz is also another one that's very soft. It's associated with Anahata. It's associated with the heart center. It's very silky, you know, it's very sweet. It feels very safe. It's very comforting. I really like to work with rose quartz with the hearts, you know, just as somebody who's been a body worker, one way I really like to work with rose quartz for working with trauma are the heart rose quartz. You've seen them. They're like bigger massage stones. They usually are about the size of the palm of the hand, okay? And you know, you can warm up a rose quartz, just get it nice and warm, just like you would a river stone, you know, for a stone massage. You could use a river stone as well. That could work as well. Hello, Brooke. Wonderful to see you. All right, so just warming up your stones, but that's really easy to do. You can warm them up in a crock pot, you know, on low. Um, it's just so comforting to feel like that stone energy, you know, and the warmth of it. It's grounding. But if you work with a rose quartz, one of those hearts, okay, and you warm up some nice oil. Sesame oil is traditional, okay, for an abhyanga, but you could do almond oil. I would work with more of a warming oil, so not coconut oil. You want something that's just a little bit more warming when we're working with the kapha energy. You can even use olive oil, okay? Or you can get one of these special formulation Ayurvedic oils if you like, you know, that are out there. They do have Ayurvedic oils that are for very specific dosha types, or you can make your own, adding a few drops of essential oil. Some good essential oils for that would be, let's see, Roman chamomile would be nice, very calming. Okay. I like mandarin orange, sweet orange is good too because it stimulates the lymphatic system, the rasa, but it still has like this sweetness to it. So it's stimulating, but it's sweetly stimulating, you know, and bringing it in with the Roman chamomile. Oh, all this, well, this stuff will all help. You know, it's really excellent if you feel like you have a lot of attachment to your trauma, like if it feels to you like you got energetic cords that are still kind of like lodged in your energy body from, past experiences, or maybe a person that you had a really traumatic experience with and you want to get that out of your body. You can work with tagetes for that. That's Mexican marigold. And you can get tagetes oil, and that's very effective, but you only need like one drop. It's potent, okay? Just one drop of tagetes. And everything that I'm sharing here, please, I'm not telling you how you should proceed with your healthcare, right? Do make sure with everything you check in with your own healthcare provider about what's right for you, what's not, right? I'm here to share information, though, and things for you to explore that can support you in your healing process. Just have to bring that piece in. But you could do, like, see, Roman chamomile. You could do that sweet orange or mandarin orange. You could do just a few drops. Okay, you don't need a lot. You can get like make yourself up a blend of trauma healing oil. Let's say you could get like a cup of oil, all right? And in that cup of oil, you could put, I would have, I would put it down at the base, actually. I would put just one drop of that tagetes, that Mexican marigold. And then I would put, as the real heart of it, I would put that sweet orange or mandarin oil. Okay, so I would do a good like 3 drops there. Okay, good 3 drops, and then I would do 2. I would do 2 of the Roman chamomile, and I would top it with just a drop of mint, any kind of mint. That would make a lovely oil to work with for clearing trauma from the body. You don't have to do that. It's just a formula that I want to share that you could work with. It would get the lymph, moving, so you could release emotional blockages, kind of have a good cry. Especially helpful if you're one of those people that you're like, I feel like I have stuff to let go, but I'm not able to let it go. All right, definitely work with that. That could be very helpful. And then, abhyanga, right? So you could warm that oil and you could give yourself abhyanga, but in terms of working with the rose quartz, you could pour that warm oil over your chest. Make sure you got like nice towels laid down, okay? Something to catch the oil. Make sure you're comfortable too. But you could warm that oil and pour it over your chest, and then using the rose quartz heart, you could give yourself a really nice massage with that warm rose quartz heart, just like moving in clockwise circles around the heart, even working into the breast tissue. And yes, men, you have breast tissue too. Okay, so it's so important. There's so much lymph that runs through here. This also helps, just dissipate a lot of tension in the chest. We don't realize, like, when we're holding trauma in our bodies, or we're holding grief in our bodies, we can have a tendency to really like tighten up around this area, and the shoulders can start to roll forward because there's so much like protective energy being held around that chest center. So, remembering too, just throughout your day, just seeing, am I rounding forward and rolling the shoulders back a few times, and really bringing those shoulder blades down toward the tailbone. You can even do a little shrugging too, okay? Just as a physical check-in throughout the day. But that's a beautiful parts. Ooh, little blockage there. Beautiful way to work with that rose quartz energy and just bring in that kind of softening while also working the tissues. See, now we're looking at moving into that fire energy a bit, which is working the energy out of the physical tissues, which brings me to gua sha. Okay. And this is a particular gua sha that I got that's made of carnelian. I absolutely love this gua sha. Very simple to use. There is a correct way to use it. You don't, when in terms of body work, you don't want to do things toward the lymph, okay? And that may sound contradictory to those of you who maybe have studied massage, worked with, body work modalities before. You may have been told that you should always go towards the lymph, but that's not actually true. So a lot of what we're doing when we're working with gua sha on the body is we're working with the meridian lines, right? So this is something that comes from more Chinese medicine, okay? This is not from Ayurveda. Gua sha is not from Ayurveda, but where I was taught Ayurveda, we combined different Tibetan methods of Ayurveda, and we kind of had a fusion too, where we would bring in elements of that kind of medicine with traditional Ayurveda, right? So I just want to clarify that that's not Ayurveda, but this is very effective. And we're working with the meridian lines when we're working with gua sha. And so you want to move with the flow of the exiting points for the meridian lines, which are the tips of your fingers and the tips of all your toes. All right. So you always want to finish with the energy moving out and down. So like if you were going to work with gua sha on the chest, you go out from the center and then bring it down out through the fingertips, But this can be very helpful. You can go down on the side here, in the warrior lymph as well. Bring it down, down and out to the hand, okay? And when you are working the belly, you can do clockwise motion to work with the flow of digestion. And then you would just finish it off by bringing it down the legs, So it's just a really great way to break up, the energy and clear it out. You don't want to be too intense with it, okay? As soon as the area gets red, right? Let me see if I can show you here so you can see. So you can bring a little energy to it, but you want to move only in one direction, okay? I'm not going back and forth. I'm moving out toward, this is great for carpal tunnel, by the way, out toward the palm, okay? Now you see how there's a little, pinkishness raised there? That's enough, okay? You don't need to go crazy with it, but you can do this kind of work and bring it out toward those exiting points for the meridian lines, and it will clear out the energy. But what this is really great for is when you feel like you got other people's energy stuck to you. It's so good for clearing it out. And if you put the focus on that, if you put the focus on, I'm clearing out the energy of this trauma or this old relationship or whatever this is that I'm still holding on to these feelings with, and you're gua shaing at the same time while working with the oil, it's powerful. And in this week, the course, if you haven't gotten the course yet, it's free, and I'm releasing the lessons week by week. By tomorrow night, I'll have up the third week's lesson, which starts next week. Okay, so you can kind of read ahead. But right now, weeks 1 and 2 are up. We're on week 2. It doesn't matter when you come to it. It's okay. You can jump in at any point. It's absolutely fine. But right now on week 2, we have something called, it's like a banisher. It's a banisher salt scrub bodywork session. And again, you just mix some of that oil you make up, okay? You can make up any kind of blend you want. Mix that oil with a little sea salt, and you just, on dry skin, in a shower stall, you just rub it all over your body. Same thing, focusing on what you're clearing out. There's something about holding the emotion, the feelings, the frustration, the grief, whatever it is, as you're moving it out of your tissues, physically, it's super powerful. It clears out the energy from the cellular memory because you're actually providing a space for you to experience it and feel it, but without getting stuck in the feeling. You're actually physically moving the energy out of the body. It's actually really, really potent. And then in terms of grief, deep-seated grief, that's often held within the lungs. Okay, so you can also do steam inhalations. Just get a nice basin of hot water, something you boiled up, and you can add in some fresh rosemary, which is stimulating. It's stimulating for kapha, but at the same time, it creates a feeling of protection. And rosemary is very much aligned with Anahata, the heart chakra. And so it provides this feeling of it being safe to open up to love. And this is what you want when you're moving through healing trauma. You need to be able to have a safe space for you to open up to that vulnerability, to feel what you're feeling. You have to be able to feel safe going into the center of the pain so you can release it. And I know people tend to want to avoid pain, but that's what blocks our paths, and that's what keeps us in these trauma loops, is by trying to avoid the pain. Everything when it comes to healing trauma is about learning how to hold space for the discomfort. So that's what these tools are brought in for. There are ways for you to hold space, to be with what's uncomfortable, but not just hold space for it. Be empowered within that space where you feel like you can take action in that space. And that's why it's so potent to like focus on the feeling while moving it physically out of the body, whether with gua sha or a salt scrub, or if you need more softness, more tenderness, you can just simply work with Abhyanga and giving yourself a massage. And with Abhyanga, over the crown of the head, you get the oil on the scalp, you put the oil on your face, okay? All the way down your whole body, you get everything around joints, traditionally, circular motions around all your joints, around limbs, back and forth motions, okay? Again, you can go clockwise on the heart and then kind of pull the energy open. So you keep the heart space open. I mean, this is so stimulating for all your lymph. It's so good for all your lymph. And in order to clear out your trauma, you have to be able to get your lymph moving because it's held in place. It's held in place by the stagnancy. All right. So we got to get it flowing. Right. And this is also a good way to just show love and kindness to your body. Now, I mentioned that this is like a sensitive topic we're diving in here. So those of you who have trauma that is specifically related around it not feeling safe to be in your body, and there's many reasons why that kind of trauma can develop. It's such essential work to be able to give yourself this kind of self-care and to get to a place where you can give yourself nourishing touch, So nice, open, soft, keeping everything open, clockwise circles on the belly, right? And again, back and forth, down the legs, circles around the knees, circles around the ankles, okay? And just give your feet a nice massage. We don't pay a lot of attention to our feet, okay? So that's how you can do a nice Abhyanga if you just need something more nourishing, more gentle. For those of you who struggle with body dysmorphia, for those of you who really struggle being in your physical body, if you really feel like going into the belly of the beast, I encourage you stand in front of a full-length mirror naked and give yourself an Abhyanga. And as you encounter the resistance to that, just speak words of love. Speak words of love to those parts of your body. It is so powerful. It is so powerful. It's so healing. It really, really, truly is. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. But with those steam inhalations too, if you're doing some form of physical action body work like that, okay, and then you're doing steam inhalations, little rosemary in there. You could do a little lemon verbena is nice too. Has a little bit like uplifting kind of vibe. You could put some eucalyptus in there too. It helps clear the air, okay? And then you just get a nice, I wouldn't do essential oils for that though. Work with fresh, okay? Work with fresh plants. It's just, it can be a little too intense with essential oils, breathing them in like that. And really do be mindful with your essential oils. You don't want to overdo it. It's very condensed medicine, and people don't often think of it that way. They're like, oh, I can just, it's essential oil. It's healthy. I can like slather it on. It can be toxic if you overdo it. And also be mindful of the essential oils you use as well if you have pets, because they can be very sensitive to them as well. Okay. So do your research. If you feel pulled to a certain essential oil, do your research about it. But it's not good for steam inhalation. It's better to work with fresh, work with fresh plants. And if you're not able to do that, you can do just plain water. It's fine too. It's the steam, it's the steam that helps break up the congestion, the ama, that which isn't digested in the lungs, which you could very well have that. I mean, this is kapha season, so you also need to clear out that vata, that old dry vata that may be there, that may be stuck, as congestion in the lungs. And the best way to get that out is to get like that warm liquid in there, to kind of break up that congestion. And then you cough up a lot of mucus, phlegm. That's what happens. That's that ama moving out. But what happens is when you're moving it physically out of the body like that, and you're also doing these steam inhalations, you will get this like big emotional release that comes with it too. And you'll notice a correspondence. I bring this in because people are often surprised when it happens. So I do like them to be prepared when they're working with this kind of stuff. Sometimes if you have a lot of undigested experiences, emotions, thoughts, things that you've been holding on to for a long time, and you start doing this clearing work, and maybe you are going to introduce, if you haven't already, the free course, which by the way, I'll put the link on this particular video, but it's at rootsayurveda.blogspot.com. Okay, everything's laid out for you, all the directions. It's really easy to follow. You might be diving into that digestive cleanse. Okay, so people are often surprised too at how much starts to move emotionally when they address their digestion. It's like, hello, it's your digestion. It's also like the center. It's like your power center there. So of course, like you get your digestion activated, and a lot starts to come up. I mean, because by the time it's there, it's already gone through all those other channels of manifestation when it manifests on the physical. So a lot of times people are surprised. They'll be surprised because they'll be like, oh my gosh, I had this experience where I actually threw up phlegm. I like threw it up. I've never coughed up so much mucus in my life. And it's like, yeah, you got out a lot of ama. And that creates a real like damp gut environment that snuffs out the digestive fire, It just makes it so you don't have enough, hydrochloric linoleic acid. You don't have enough juice to like, really properly break down the foods you eat so you can assimilate the nutrition. And a lot of people wonder, like, well, why am I always getting so gassy or so bloated, or I'm burping all the time after I eat, or food feels really heavy and just stuck in my gut, or I don't have, good release either, yeah. That liver tonic, man, it's no joke. I've noticed with this particular panchakarma, I got so much ama to move this time. And this first week, second week, but of the, total puja cleanse, like I've realized it's been more gentle for me. And I've realized I've needed a lot of rest because I feel like my nervous system has just needed a lot of support to just enter like recovery mode. I actually feel probably the majority of the collective will be in that space just because of the stress collectively we've been through, as a whole over the past few years. So I think I'm actually going to go another week, and I'm going to do the real deep and do more of the like liver tonic and all that, because it is a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. I already got a lot coming up. I'm like, wow. I mean, I haven't even really gone full bore on that yet. So I am going to extend it a week. And you can extend the cleanse week. You can. If you feel like, you really need a lot of cleansing, you can work with that, more than a week. You absolutely can. Because it's not the kind of cleanse that requires you go hungry or anything like that. You'll see, with the way it's laid out. But uh, yeah, you can extend it. I wouldn't do it beyond new moon. New moon in Aries on the 8th of April. Have it wrapped up by then. If you want to do a little additional cleansing, you can. But you don't want to start going too far into the spring. It's all about the balance, all right? But yeah, and what they find is when they move a lot of that ama, they move a lot of that, mucus, they'll have a lot of emotional release. Like all of a sudden they're crying a lot or they're letting out a lot of emotion. And it's because what was undigested is coming up and out. Okay, so do be prepared for that. I do like to prepare people for what they're getting into, when if you're doing like the digestive cleansing and you're doing the physical work on the body, okay, and you're working with your breath, that can really get a lot moving emotionally, and you're doing your steam inhalations, right? It's all very simple stuff. And by the way, if you don't have a gua sha, okay, you can use a spoon. You can use anything. You can use a rock that you find that has a real flat edge, like a skipping stone, works great as a gua sha. You know those porcelain spoons you get when you order Chinese food, when you go to the restaurant? You can use a side of one of those too. I mean, you can get creative, okay? It doesn't have to be an official gua sha. It will still work, all right? And again, you don't have to have some shishi oil either. You can just go in and use your olive oil, works great, all right? And you can just warm it up either real gently on the stove, or you can put it in some kind of glass container and then put it in some hot water, that you've warmed up to just gently warm your oil. And I'm telling you, you get that warm oil on there, right? You get the warm oil on there. It's already so comforting. And you get in there, you start to move your tissues. And what you're going to find is you're moving your tissues, okay? I kind of want to teach you a little bit about this. As you're doing your Abhyangas, you may come across places where you're like, oh, wait a minute, what is that? It feels like a little knotted up in here. The quality of this is another reason why it's good. It gets you in touch with your body, gets you really understanding your body, knowing your body. And you may reach in there and go, wow, I'm really noticing, like, it feels almost like congested. It feels real tight around my elbow. And oh, there's some places in here where it feels like kind of knotty and dry. And you may say, well, that sounds really strange for me to feel dryness in my body from giving myself a massage. No, you'll come to understand it, because as you work the tissues, okay, what's going to happen is that resistance in there is going to start to melt. And then you're going to learn in a very tactile way what liquid fire feels like, because your tissues will take on this real buttery, kind of like soft, like yielding quality. And that's when your lymph is really flowing. You're going to feel the difference tremendously, but you'll also feel the difference tremendously emotionally. So people are often surprised when they start to dive into this. They're like, wow, I find I'm like crying, or I'm having a lot of emotional release, or sometimes you had your fire held back, and so you start really working the tissues, you start working your body, and what happens is you feel like some kind of anger comes forward. Oh, good, get it moving. That's, if you got anger coming in, that's a good time to pull out the gua sha, because it is a little bit more vigorous, You can really get in there and move it out. You can even do, if you got silk gloves, you can do, massage, a dry massage. It's great for kapha if you've got a lot of kapha to move. If you don't, though, all right? If you don't, and you run more hot, you run more inflamed, I wouldn't work with, doing the dry. It can just create more fire, and you'll know where you're at with that. But if you're somebody who feels congested, bogged down, maybe you feel like you got some extra weight hanging on your body, then yeah, you can do, with silk gloves. You can buy them online really cheap. You can find them for like $5 or something. you know, and they'll last forever. You can just do a friction massage all over your body, and that's really stimulating, very helpful. It's also good for helping with things like cellulite, things like that. So, you know, just tonifies the tissues. It's nice, okay? So those are some different things you can work with in terms of just like physically with the body. And that initial breath work that we brought in, just that one simple breath, it's called the Durga Pranayama, or 3-part yogic breath. And just doing just 3 rounds of the full complete, like once you got it all dialed in and you're taking the breath all the way up, then do like 3 full breaths like that, bringing it all the way up to the heart. It's amazing. You'll feel completely different afterwards. It brings you back to center. Then there's another thing for those of you that are more daring. And I have to, when I talk of the lymphatic system and trauma, I have to bring in the glymphatic system. Okay, so the glymphatic lymph system is actually the lymph that nourishes your brain. It's what, you know, is the fluid in that cerebral spinal fluid that comes up and, you know, works through the brain and has so much responsibility for nourishing all of the brain, but also the entire endocrine system. Okay, so when we're looking at things like PTSD and how to really deal with trauma and things along those lines and getting rid of these sort of like repetitive thought patterns, there is a way that you can work with even stimulating internally within the brain the glymphatic lymph system. And this can really also get things that are stuck there moving as well. Okay, so the way that you do that is you would open with the Durga Pranayama. Okay, you would want to get some good oil. You could either use a raw, cold pressed, warm sesame oil for this. Okay, or you could do warm ghee. You could use either for this, all right? But what you'll do is, it's going to sound a little unusual, okay? It's going to sound a little unusual, but what you're going to do is you're going to take just a little bit, I don't know, maybe like a teaspoon, okay, of that warm raw sesame oil or warm ghee, all right? And you're going to close off, you know, one of your nostrils, and you're going to put your nostril in it, and you're going to snort up. You're going to snort up the oil into your nose, and then I like to kind of like massage it in a little bit, okay? And then you're going to do it on the other side as well, all right? Rub it in, all right? And then you can work with pranayama. You can open up first with that Durga Pranayama and do it for a few rounds, all right? And then after you do the Durga Pranayama, you can go into Kapalabhati, or skull shining breath. It's also known as the breath of fire. I will caution with this, if you are pregnant, do not do the Kapalabhati. If you deal with vertigo, do not do the Kapalabhati. If you deal with any kind of heart issue or blood pressure related issue, do not work with Kapalabhati. And even after me saying all this, if you have any questions about, is the breath of fire Kapalabhati right for me, ask your healthcare provider, okay? But to do Kapalabhati, what you do is it's totally just nostril breathing. It's sort of it's a quick centered breath where you're breathing in only through the nose, okay? And you breathe in, and as you breathe in, you're sort of breathing the air into the center of your navel as you draw your navel back towards your spine. And then you breathe out with more kind of like quickness or force. And as you do that, you're pushing the belly out. So it's almost like your belly becomes like a bellows, you know, like when you're stoking a fire, it's that kind of motion. And it even has that sort of like a rhythm to it. It's more of a rhythmic breath. You have to kind of start slowly and build your way up to it, but it really activates the inner fire. It's a transformational kind of fire that builds that Agni and can be very helpful after you do this nasya, you know, bringing the oil into the nostrils. If you're really ambitious with the oil, you could even do a warm ghee neti, okay? And I did do a video about neti, and you can check that. I'll look for it and put the link on the comments here too. So you can learn about how to do that. You can even use a Brahmi infused oil, ghee oil with that. And that is really like potent for supporting all of this going on here. And by the way, Brahmi or Gotu Kola is a wonderful plant medicine to work with to support all of this sort of like rewiring of the neural loops. If you deal with PTSD, if you're dealing with kind of like these repetitive thought patterns, and that's something that's very troubling for you, that can be very helpful. Again, check with your healthcare practitioner, but and it's really easy to infuse the Brahmi in the ghee. All you have to do is just as you're making ghee, preparing ghee, you heat up the Brahmi within it, and then you just strain everything out. Okay, so you can use either or. It can be plain or with Brahmi. You can also take Brahmi internally as well, and that can be extremely helpful too. I like to work with just the powder and mix it with a little raw honey, roll it up like a little pill. We call those Gucci pills, and I like to just take them, okay? So you can learn all about that just by researching. It's also stuff that I cover in the course a little bit later down the road, but I really wanted to bring this in since I was planning on going live. I wanted to be able to share it with you all, so you had an opportunity to ask questions, you know, in lifetime about it. Yes, yes. So, okay, breath of fire. I'll go ahead and demonstrate just so you can get an idea and a feel for it. You want to start out slow, okay? You may not be able to do it very long when you first start out because it builds the fire really quickly. Okay, that's breath of fire. That's Kapalabhati. And you will feel like it gets a heat rising internally, like heat rises. And that's what it does. It's really clearing these upper channels. It's also activating for that lymphatic lymph system. Okay. And then after you've done that, if you can't do Kapalabhati, right, if it's not a fit for you because of your conditions, you could do alternate nostril breathing, all right? And the way you do that is you can get your hand like this, like hang loose, okay? And you put your thumb covering your left nostril, and you breathe in through your right nostril. And you exhale through your right nostril. And then you breathe in through your right nostril. And then you switch and you close off the right nostril and you exhale through the left nostril. And you breathe in through the left nostril. And then you close it off and you breathe out through the right nostril. And that's very balancing for both hemispheres of the brain. It's also very stimulating for the pituitary. It's good for the pineal. Okay, so it's nourishing. It's a nourishing, balancing breath for the brain. So that's an alternate. Okay, Durga Pranayama, then either Kapalabhati or alternate nostril breathing. Okay, and then once you've done that for a few rounds, however long feels good for you, you finish up with, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's commonly called bumblebee breath, okay? And all you have to do for that is, you know, sometimes people like to do this fancy, you know, hand thing. You don't have to. You can just simply cover your ears, okay, with the palm of your hands. And you take a breath in through the nose, and then you hum it out for the exhale. And it creates like this vibration within the brain that stimulates the lymphatic lymph system. Okay, so like this. All right, and you do like 3 rounds of that. Okay. It gets the nourishment of the oil up in there, all right? That helps calm vata. It's also nourishing for the entire endocrine system, all right? Because of just the chain of the endocrine system, the occipital nerve, you know, really gets that nourishment in. It just goes down the whole chain. It like relaxes the whole body internally. And then you get the stimulation of the lymphatic lymph system, which gets all the stuff that's been congested in the consciousness starting to flow too. It helps your cerebral spinal fluid flow evenly. This is super, super, super powerful. Very beneficial. You could do that even just like a couple times a week. It make a huge difference for you. And I know it sounds a little scary. Not everybody's into neti. You don't have to be into neti. It's okay. But if you are, open to neti and you can get really good quality ghee and warm up that ghee and doing it, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love to do it. It's amazing. It's amazing. And there's nothing like it for just instantly calming the entire nervous system. And if you're like, well, wait a minute, Shannon, I'm super busy. I don't have time to do all of that. Like, what could you do on a micro level that could really calm the nervous system instantly? You could oil the head. Okay, just warm oil on the scalp. Just massage it into your scalp. It's really excellent. It's excellent for the health of your scalp and your hair too. Okay, and then rub some oil on your feet. It only takes a couple minutes. It's really good for instantly calming down. I call it like a rescue remedy. You just make yourself a nourishing meal. Okay, something warm and nourishing, and get some oil on your head, put some oil on your feet, and then take a nice shower afterwards, or if you have the luxury or the time to just soak in a bath to kind of let it just kind of all go down the drain. It's so helpful. It's very simple, powerful, and helpful. And then finally, in terms of other things that help with Ayurveda, I do want to close this out with a little read here. Okay. Another thing that you can do is you can work with passion flower, right? Passion flower tincture. That's especially effective if you deal with anxiety. It's very calming for anxiety. And it's relatively safe. I mean, there's very few contraindications. Again, always check with your healthcare practitioner. But it's very, very soothing. And yet they've done quite a bit of studies around it and have found that often for people who struggle with really severe anxiety, it's just as effective, if not more so, than the standard medication they were put on. If you want to know more about that study, go to Dr. Andrew Wheel's website and do a search for passion flower and the uses for anxiety, and you'll be quite impressed with what you find. And then a completely safe that anybody can use, and it doesn't matter, what health condition you have, are flower essences. And I highly recommend violet flower essence. Violets are so wonderful for when you're experiencing any level of sensitivity, and they do help you leave behind feelings of disempowerment, and they give you the courage to kind of allow yourself to kind of come forward in life again. And they create a lot of gentle and safe space around opening up to vulnerability. So that can be a tremendous ally. Before I dive into this read, I just want to pull a Kali card, okay? Because we haven't worked with Kali yet for this Panchakarma, and she's always so essential. Oh, look what we got there right on the bottom of the deck. We have Kundalini Shakti, okay? Yes, so I did pick up those tantric vibes about, really unifying the masculine, the feminine, the yin, the yang, the Shiva, the Shakti within the self, to come to a place of unification where you may have felt divided. So this energy coming in very strongly. But I just want to take this chance right now to see if anybody has any questions or anything they want to bring in, any experience that they want to share before I draw this card for us. I'm going to go ahead and give my own intuitive download around it, my own channeled message around the card that comes out. But then I think I will also pull out Alana Fairchild's book and the practice she has for invoking the energy, to just give you a little practice you can drop back in around. I will go through later and I will timestamp for you, okay? So you can drop in with certain parts again and again on this. But I likely won't get to that until next week, just because I am finding that I'm in this Panchakarma space with all of you. So I've been needing a lot of extra rest myself. So just trying to balance my flow of output as we're doing this deep work. And yeah, I think it'll be good to, you can take it in little bits, maybe write down the last place you left off to, or you can write down timestamps too, or drop them in the comments as well. It's a big help for helping people find things. Okay. Jai Ma Kali, Jai Ma Kali, Jai Ma Kali. I have a deep affinity with Kali. I have her tantric form actually tattooed on my arm as Chamundie, the trauma goddess. So she's very dear to my heart. She's helped me through a lot of stuff. So calling on Jai Ma Kali, how can those who are moving through trauma and working with these Ayurvedic methods also be supported in their earth walk in their life, moving forward from their pain, releasing themselves from the grip of the wound so they can actually enter into that light that's wanting to pour through, that light that leads them to the expansion that's calling them forward in their lives now, and the risk to not be tight in the bud, but to come into full, beautiful bloom so they can feel the softness and the sweetness. And I like how that's coming in, the decadence of the unfurling of the petals of their hearts so they can receive all that wants to pour into them now. So they can embrace that ojas, the sweetness, the nectar of life, and feel full once again. Okay, let's see what wants to come in. It's always interesting. All right, we had a whole stack come out. So I'm going to read them from bottom to top. I'm going to take the top card as the one we'll read for our practice, okay? Because I feel like it'll give me a basis of the matter. Yes, Kali Yantra. So we're being shown a mudra here, okay? They can also be helpful while you're doing your breath work. All right, so this can help bring in the energy. So let me show you how that goes. Let me turn it around the correct way. Okay, so you take these 3 fingers, okay? So you just have your pointer finger up like so. Is that right? Yes, because I'm getting the rear view of it. Okay, and then you're going to take your left thumb, okay, and you cross it over and you cross your right thumb on top, right? And you can hold this right in front of your heart. So when you're doing that breath work, you can do this as well. It's a mudra. So this mudra helps draw in a certain quality of energy into your body. And if you do this right now, okay, so left thumb on the bottom, right thumb on top, pointer fingers touching, other fingers interlaced. And you hold this right in front of your heart. You can feel the shift in the energy. You can also practice holding it at different locations too. It's wild holding it up on the crown. Okay. You could even turn it down. You know what I mean? Point it toward the ground. And that allows the energy to pour in. So this is how you hold it upright, but you can even turn it down and even envision it like almost like, you see on this yantra here, it's this energy pouring in, right? Okay. So this is a good way to work and focus, focus with that pranayama work that we brought in. You can bring this in as well. You can use this when you're sitting in meditation, all right? Let's see what we got here. Yes, okay, so we have smasana. Okay, so this form of Kali is all about making an offering. actually offering something up to the fire of transformation. And so I'm really viewing this as offering up the trauma itself, or that which you're holding on to, so that it can actually be transmuted, transformed, and you can be freed from the grip of it. You know, she's holding that head over the offering bowl too. So that makes me think of just being freed from this sort of like imprisonment of the mind, right? Just going over the thoughts again and again. So the consciousness can be cleared and elevated. You could even do some kind of, release ritual around that you create for yourself, working with fire. You could work with Cha Talk. We've brought that in on the channel before, just simply lighting a candle and meditating, by staring into the flame of the candle and focusing on that fire as that power of Agni, the transformational fire. And you can envision, imagine the thoughts, the troubling thoughts, the trauma leaving your consciousness, heading to a stream into that fire to be offered up. So that's another way you could work with that, to clear that energy out. You could also work with a homa, is very traditional in puja panchakarma, where you actually light a fire and you give offerings like dried herbs and things you're ready to release. You offer them up to the fire. You could do that with any kind of sacred dry herbs. Any kind of smoke cleansing herbs. You could do bay leaves, and hold your intention for what you're putting in the bay leaves and offering it up, offering it up to the fire to cleanse away the energy. And again, this is like really speaking of this energy of cord cutting, or what I like to call extraction work. This right here is a kartika. Okay, so kartikas are used to cleanse the energy body. All right, you work with that kartika. You see, there's like the blade is for cutting things away, but the hook is also to like get things and grab them and pull them out by the root. And I have videos on that. And I'll try again, once next week comes around, I'll get you all marked for like what videos I'm talking about here. But I already have a video where I go over, how to work with this energy for like clearing out the energy body. So I'll put that there for you all as a resource. But this is something about the ties that bind, okay? It's like there's something here that needs to be released. It's the attachment, okay? It's the attachment to the trauma. It's the attachment to the suffering. And this is what needs to still be cleared away. This is what needs to be released. And when I see this here, I see Dhumavati. Yes. Right. This is having the courage to move through the fear. This is about having the courage to step into that fire transformation, to burn away all that is false, to burn away all that is ready to be released. So there can be the rebirth energy coming in. And Dhumavati teaches us how to be fierce, how to be strong in walking through those dark valleys, how to have the courage to face the truth, how to have the courage to step through the fear or step through what has held us back. Sometimes it's even just the courage to step into the unknown. A lot of times people don't recognize the ways they can become so attached to their trauma because it's familiar, and it allows them to stay within a certain narrative about their lives that actually keeps them in a very safe space. It keeps them in this space of not moving beyond into that unknown. You can develop a real fear of the unknown when you've dealt with a really intense trauma, because you often lack trust in yourself at its basic root. And when we look at trust, and we look at trust as being synonymous with that quality of love, right? It's in some way we've divorced ourselves from the love within ourselves. And that's why nothing feels safe. That's why it doesn't feel safe to open up into the vulnerability. So the more that we can move into this like kind of energy of really working with our bodies and using that as a way to find courage to sort of face it. You know what I mean? It's like we can create a boogeyman in our consciousness. Our thoughts really can have the power to trap us. And they can be somewhat like one of those Chinese finger traps. You know what I'm saying? It's like once you get a hold of a thought and then you're trying to stop thinking about it, you know what I mean? When you try to stop thinking about something, it's just like when somebody says like, don't think about a pink polka dot elephant. Ganesh coming through. Ganesh is great too. If you want to work with, you know, a mantra practice, Ganesh is excellent, you know, for helping move obstacles out of the way. And Ganesh is also really gentle and fun and playful and sweet, and he makes you laugh. So I definitely encourage that. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namah is a wonderful mantra to work with. 40 recitations, you know, 40 days of recitations. 108 a day, a full mala, like I'm wearing here, okay? Using it just like rosary beads, okay? Can be very helpful for clearing out those obstacles, especially if you're moving through something you're afraid of. But I feel like, you know, the only way out is through, ultimately, okay? And so when we kind of get over the boogeyman and we're just like, that's it, you know, so much fear is built up just in facing the fear, when really if we just take action, when we work with the fire and we're like, I'm just going to face it, I'm just going to move through it. And the best way to do that when you have trauma history is through working your body. Through working your body. Because what you're doing, what you may not realize you're doing in that moment, is you're getting it from rattling around in your head and you're actually bringing it down to the root of the issue. And now you're clearing it out of your physical body and going in. So this is that liquid fire, that transformational fire that burns away all that is false. So you can truly move into the freedom and the expansion of the clear road ahead. That's why Panchakarma is very much like a road opener. And all the true like awakenings and growth happens after Panchakarma, after you get all those blocks out of the way. Because then the truest expression of yourself can come on through. It's really beautiful. So I feel like Dhumavati is here to be like, look, you're not going through this death alone. And it does feel like a death because it's so familiar. You become so identified with your trauma. You may not realize that now. But it's true. It's something that happens. And especially if you've been through a long drawn out therapy process, you know, rehabilitative process, whatever the nature of your trauma is, or maybe you haven't even had the courage to even look at it your whole life, or maybe you're having repressed stuff come up and you weren't even aware of it. It had been so disconnected from, there was such disassociation, okay? This is Kali coming through in this form to say, you're not going through this alone. I'm with you. I'm going to give you courage to go through the fire and to have that release, to let it go. Because you don't need to become identified with this. This is not who you are. You are not your trauma. That's a lie. It's separating you from the true nature of who you are. It's still giving a lifeline, feeding the abuser, feeding the aggressor, feeding the oppressor, feeding the deceiver. That's what it is. And so once we finally like release that, the attachment to that, to have that other, you know, that other as the reason why we're unable to open our hearts and be brave and be vulnerable and be fierce. It's fierce to love, man, especially in this world. She's here to give you the courage to do it, okay? She's here to give you the courage to face it and be transformed in that fire test of truth. It's really beautiful. It's like she's saying, I'm ready to pour into you. Make the offering. What trauma are you ready to release? I'm here to help you pull it out by the root. I won't leave you alone as you walk through this fire of transformation. Super empowering. Number 22, right? Total alignment, building block for the future, right? So 22 as a power number. And there's an interesting thing, especially with trauma related to abuse. When you do this work and you face the fear and you have this release, You also grant the abuser freedom, which means they're no longer tethered to you. And they are free to be transformed in their own fire-tested truth. So something is something to consider, okay? I'm going to read this one for Dhumavati, because I feel like this is what's coming through as the meditative practice for us. So let me see. Where is this book? Oh, there it is. There it is. We got the angels coming out. We got all this stuff coming out. Okay. Kali. All right. Let's read about this. So you can hear it from the artist's perspective, because Alana Fairchild is the artist and the creator of this deck. And I mean, she's just a phenomenal visionary artist. You should check out her stuff. She creates quite a few beautiful decks, actually. I have a few of her decks now. So I always like to bring in her words because her art is just so inspired and beautiful. And I mean, it's Kali. And I do enjoy the practices she brings in. And I think they can be a little supportive, sort of like a little supportive Gucci pill that you can drop in with, you know, and take in. It's like a little bite of meditative awareness. Okay. Dhumavati, beloved mother who dwells in the smoke, who presides over the most difficult transitions. She who knows that certain endings are unavoidable, they are necessary predecessors to radical reinvention. Her presence brings a message that though disappointment, defeat, or loss, and the negative repercussions of such experiences may cause suffering for a time, they will not limit your future happiness. They are a means for opening as yet unrecognized pathways for fulfillment. Your trust must be unconditional at this time, and later you shall see that everything has worked out for the absolute best. The seventh of the Mahavidya wisdom goddesses is Dhumavati. She is the crone goddess, and uniquely in the Hindu context from which she arises, also a widow. Her name means she who is made of smoke. And as the expression goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. Dhumavati is associated with the profound suffering. Just as smoke is the polluting and concealing manifestation of fire, it can be hard to believe there is any divine blessing, hidden or otherwise, when we are in the agonies of intense suffering. In honoring Dhumavati, we acknowledge that suffering is part of life and can develop compassion. Our capacity for kindness is often in direct proportion to the suffering we have experienced and processed, as it can grow empathy and wisdom in the soul. Some continue to create pain for themselves and others alleviate suffering in the world through what they have learned. The difference comes through the willingness to face and process pain. Dhumavati can help us find the courage to be real about our suffering, neither becoming lost in it nor avoiding it, but rather to go through it and process it. Dhumavati is often associated with the most painful aspects of human existence: aging, disease, thirst, poverty, hunger, death, and ugliness on all levels. This may cause some to fear her and try to push her away. Yet when we are suffering greatly, we can know that she is with us. With her black, smoky skin, she becomes the blackened Madonna. Razuli Dantor vibes. The beloved mother who does not watch our suffering from some remote place in blissful detachment, but is suffering along with us. Our cries resonate in her heart. In our emotional anguish, she is our sacred companion, and her presence can help us bear witness with honesty and courage. Healing begins with an acknowledgement of suffering. You cannot resolve an issue if you deny it exists. Bearing honest witness is the only way for change to begin. When Dhumavati arises in a reading, there is an opportunity to end a profound and difficult struggle, perhaps one that is obscured and difficult to articulate and acknowledge. Such truth speaking to yourself happens when you can admit, this is not good for me, or I'm not yet sure what or how, but something needs to stop. Dhumavati is sometimes depicted with two crows attempting to pull a cart they cannot move. At other times, her cart is without means of movement at all. She brings the message that the path you are on cannot take you any further. This doesn't mean that life is over, but rather that life as you have known it has come to an end. This is the inception of a new cycle. To be ready for it, as we know from Kali's mysteries, we must grieve and release what has been. In the social context from which Dhumavati emerges, widows are at the edges of acceptable social status. In this way, Dhumavati is a goddess for those who have been shunned, criticized, or denounced. Those forced out of social status or position through circumstances that are not necessarily of their own choosing. When external events seem to be forcing you in a certain direction, feelings of vulnerability can arise, but then so can a sense of being deeply guided by the universe. Dhumavati's presence signifies a time when something you once counted on has failed you in some way. Through that process, opportunities open that would not have been otherwise available to you. Dhumavati is a harbinger of endings and loss, but also of radical trust and secret blessings that are revealed later and most often unexpectedly. Something avoided at all costs happens anyway, and we end up being grateful for it because it frees us. New horizons open up. Everything changes. It wasn't easy. It took courage. It hurt a lot. We had to grow, but she was there with us, letting us know. This feels terrible, but something good is going to come from it. The pain will end. You are going to be more than just okay. You are going to thrive. So I love how she comes through with that symbolism of the chariot and how Panchakarma is such a road opener. It gets all the blocks out of the way. So your creative fire can finally come through and blaze the new trail. You know, that creative force energy. Remember, we opened up this Panchakarma with the celestial, the celestial vermilion bird. You know, it's about bringing that energy, that rooted energy of fire, of transformation, blazing trail way through, you know, so you can actually access that North Node energy and come into that totem of the North on the medicine wheel, which is about sweetness and joy and that nectar of life, right? So it's like the sooner we face the fear, the pain, the trauma, the sooner we are willing to hold the correct space for it. Remember, ritually correct. The vermilion bird is ritually correct. That means we sacrifice. We offer up that sacrifice to the fire test of truth, that which no longer serves. And remember, she comes in as ash, smoke, ash. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay? And that vermilion bird also represents that ash. Ash for what? New growth. Okay? So what's being released at this time is bringing forward this fresh growth. It's really beautiful. So there is a prayer she's bringing in. Okay? And this is a little process. So you can revisit this. And if you wish to receive this prayer, I do encourage you to work with that mudra, okay, that got brought in, all right? And you can hold it here while you receive this. So you can just listen through this time if you want, or maybe you're already in that Dhumavati spirit, or you've worked with me plenty of times before, because I know I got people going through this that have worked with me before and been through Panchakarma with me before. You can just go right into it, okay? And I'm going to read it and read through the process, but we will set a timestamp on this so you can revisit this as a practice as you continue on with the Panchakarma, because even though we're just doing the lives for this week, it is a 6-week journey, all right? So there's more to come. So let's go ahead and just drop in on it. So if you want to activate that mudra, you can, or you can just listen and receive and witness. Maybe take a deep breath and come into your body. Hold the space for it. Ma Dumavati, I honor your powerful presence and secret blessings that lead to spiritual liberation. I gratefully receive your powers of protection, warding off negativity and defending me from enemies known and unknown, within and without. You acknowledge my suffering and the suffering of all beings, so that healing and awakening can truly occur. You show us when and how to lean into the mysteries, workings of the universe. You gift me freedom and entry into new worlds. The prayers of our dark mother's gracious mind rise on your smoky essence. May blessings and healing manifest for the spiritual benefit of all beings. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Take a moment to acknowledge where you are struggling right now. It may be pain in your life, pain you sense in others or the world. That acknowledgement can become the ending of a pathway that cannot lead you anywhere worth going. You don't have to know how to start a new path. The Divine Mother knows. As your honesty and courageously bearing witness, you can speak your declaration. Divine Mother, healing change and compassionate awakening is needed here. And then you would just speak where you're needing that transformation, where you're needing that change in your life. Complete your practice with her mantra sequence, which is Om, Dum, Dum, Dumavati Svaha, Jai Ma Kali, Jai Jai Ma. So that would be Om Dum Dum Dumavati Svaha, Jai Ma Kali, Jai Jai Ma. Om Dum Dum Dumavati Svaha, Jai Ma Kali, Jai Jai Ma. Om Dum Dum Dumavati Svaha, Jai Ma Kali, Jai Jai Ma. Bow with your hands in prayer. You have completed your sacred ritual. So you can come back to this practice. You could even do it with Tratak, you know. You can make a whole practice by offering up the trauma to the flame for transformation, offering up whatever grief, whatever old emotions, old beliefs, old attachments you're releasing, old connections you're releasing, just really allowing that death, that passageway into transformation, which is all it is. We need to really stop saying unalive and instead really recognize that death is a natural part of life. And it's something that we need to be able to hold reverent, honoring space around, and at the same time, celebratory space, because within its ashes, there are the seeds of the new beginning. So there's something, a beauty that rises from the end of the cycle. We have to really remember that we can hold on to the deaths and draw it out. But the sooner we allow it to come on through, the sooner we move into the rebirth energy, right? It's just the seeds of a new beginning. So you could focus on what you're releasing, staring into the flames of a candle. You could do that by, offering up sacred herbs to a fire. Okay, get a little pit fire going, or if you have a little cauldron or fire safe container and you're in a space where it's safe to do that, you can do that, right? And do the releasing to the fire however it feels right to you. And then after that, you can go into this simple practice, and just really anchor it. And you can even work with that mantra if you really wanted to journey with her. But I think that's a beautiful practice and a good way to close this out. Okay. 1:44:44 on the clock. That's some total alignment coming in there. Closing the old cycle brings us into empowerment and balance within and without. And so before I go, though, and close out, I just want to see if there's anything anybody needs to bring in, because there's some of you that stuck it out the whole ride. And if there's any questions you have about the course material, I'm happy to answer that. Personal questions you have. That's why we have these lives. I'll give you a moment because I know it takes a second to type. Getting in a little bit of I had coffee this morning, bulletproof coffee this morning. Sounded good. You need to go outside for a moment? Okay, just a minute, Teddy. Let Ted out here and then we'll see if anybody left any comments. And again, I just wanted to say welcome to all the new subscribers. And I wanted to say thank you to all of you who support the channel with the subscribe. I really do appreciate it. It allows me to get, out there, past that algorithm and able to reach more people and offer more support. And so I really do appreciate that, all of you who interact and leave your comments and all the many ways you support the channel, and of course, thank you to all of the members. You're so appreciated. Miss Jenna and Star Tree Dancer and the two Jennifers, Arbibo and Jennifer Vituras, and my sister Lucky Ruthie. Yes, and Justine and Rain Shadows. I forget what the name of Raining Shadows. I think that's the name on your account. All of you, every single member, I appreciate you so much, and all of you members on the main channel too. You subscribe here and you're a member and you show up and you participate. You're part of the broad collective we're gathering here. Right, which is just really all of us from all different walks of life coming together, sharing experience. All of us who are focused on growth and want to see transformation in the world. All of us who want to get beyond all the fear mongering and all the, all the division, and really find a way through, so we can all be poured into, so we can all be supported, so we can all elevate. That's what we're about around here. And I don't care, what your spiritual belief is, or, your walk of life, or, none of that. None of that makes a difference to me, because as far as I'm concerned, we're all in it together. So everybody's welcome here. So I just want to say thank you to all of you who found your way to look beyond the whole broad coven name and view that as like a blockage, because you thought it was like, I don't know, some Illuminati stuff. There are people out there who think that, but I mean, that's kind of what's put out there in the collective. But I mean, that's part of the enamor of the name. I want people to get beyond their sort of like knee-jerk reactions, right? There's sort of like superficial way of looking at things, or just not being open-minded, not being willing to get a new perspective. It's so important we all come to a place of understanding. Okay, well, it looks like everybody's good. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for showing up, sharing space. Sometime next week, I'll get the timestamps up on this video. And unless I don't know, I might have time before weekend, but we'll see. And I'll have more of the reads coming out tonight. We're just doing real short drop-ins for all the signs this week, because there's a little bit more work output with Panchakarma Week going on and transferring the courses. So to keep it in balance, we're going to keep those reads down to like around the 15-minute mark is what I'm really aiming for. A few have edged a little close to the 20-minute mark, but definitely not beyond that, right? So let's see, what are we going to be doing tonight? We finished off with Leo. So we got coming in tonight, Virgo, okay? And we're going to have Libra and Scorpio and Sagittarius. And we're doing the playing cards, my shadow light playing cards. We're doing it straight from the hip with lots of lip. Okay, so if you're sensitive and you don't want to hear a straight up message, it's not going to be the best week to tune in for those, because we're just going to deliver it raw and, you know, straight up, no chaser. Okay, so thanks for dropping in. Love all you guys. Thank you so much for showing up and being part of this experience, and take care. I'll catch you tomorrow.